Hello, now I'm shooting video on my new iPhone 14 Pro Max, and this is full review of this phone. So this is my new 1TB iPhone 14 Pro Max. I pre-ordered it on the first day of sales, and now I will tell you about my experience with the purchase, and also this is a full review of the new product. Before, I have never bought gadgets or even accessories from the Apple Store, because there are no one in my country, and these impressions are worth feeling if you use Apple Tech. The workers simply put the iPhone against the wooden wall from where the shelves of accessories come out. The atmosphere is homey. I even filmed the unboxing right there. And also glued the glass, because it's like a spa for a smartphone. Sorry, I look like a fanatic, but I really like it. So it's been more than 10 days since I switched from the iPhone 13 Pro Max to the new 14 Pro Max. Every year I try to pick a new brand color. I just decided to do that way. Otherwise I would go with black. This year it is also deep and beautiful. I won't say that I really like purple, but this is look nice. My favorite is green, and last year Apple presented it 6 months later, and I still suffer about it. For design, the smartphone is very similar to 13 Pro and 12 Pro, because this is the last model in this design. Some time ago Apple switched to a 3-year design update cycle. Just remember iPhone 6, 6s, 7, then X, XS, then 10, 10s and 11 Pro. And now 12 Pro, 13 Pro and 14 Pro. So we should expect something really new in the next year. But at the same time, accessories from the past models are not suitable, because the location of the case is changing a little and the cameras are getting bigger every year. So I bought a new Apple leather case again. I've been using them for 4 or 5 years now, and I'm really happy with them. Well, now to the iPhone itself. Of course, the first thing I want to try was Dynamic Island. This is a new part of the iOS interface that replaced the notch. And if earlier manufacturers tried to hide any cutouts for camera, Apple now tried to show it from the box. So it is a new feature. Yes, now it's impossible to place all the necessary sensors and cameras under the display, because the quality of such cameras is very low. We saw it on, for example, Samsung Fold 3 or 4. But in the smartphones, the front camera under the display is not the main one. But in the iPhone it is the only one. In addition, the iPhone also has Face ID, which requires a dot projector and a high-quality true depth camera. So there should be some cutouts or notch. But Apple didn't just change the notch to a cutout, but made it almost the main feature of the new iPhone. And now many of status or activities are shown on this dynamic island. And this is just a beginning, because third-party developers will soon have more access to the development for dynamic island. For 10 days I use it constantly, in most cases for music and podcasts. But it will be very convenient when third-party developers have the opportunity to add navigation tips, as in Apple Maps. I can't say that cutout is not visible at all, but in real life you only notice the black peel. And it's cool. Also, I like that Face ID functions pop up from this island. The notifications of low battery of the smartphone or AirPods is also there. And you can see the timer in the real time. In short, I like this thing already on the presentation, and for now I still want to play with it. The next thing I was interested in is the new camera. And by the way, look to this color. Is it purple? Because I take a lot of photos and videos on my smartphone. It's not just a phone for me, it's more a camera with a phone functionality. I even shoot commercial videos on my iPhone, especially if it's needed for social media. And I will tell you, the camera is amazing. No other words, it's really gorgeous. But in the same time, even at 13 Pro, the camera is still good. But here is just a little bit better. The main camera became 48 megapixel, and the sensor is 65% larger. This is the first such change in 7 years, starting from the iPhone 6s. And the main thing is that Apple was allowed to use all the pixels if needed. In normal mode, the smartphone takes pictures with pixel binning, combining 4 pixels into one, and you get a 12 megapixel photo, but where one such pixel is much more than before. But there is also a Pro mode, in which you get 48 megapixel, and the weight of that photo can reach to 80 megabyte. In Pro mode, taking photos is a pleasure, because the photos turn out to be more real, less algorithms, more camera, and detailing is very different. Here are 2 photos for you, one in auto mode and one in Pro mode, and you can see all the difference when zooming. So if you need to take really good photo that can be edited with more flexibility, I would recommend you to turn Pro. But you need to remember that if you will shoot in Pro, you should take at least 256 gigabytes of storage, because you can take up to 1800 photos on the 128 gigabyte version, but if you do not install anything else. The focal length of the main camera has also changed. It used to be 26mm, now it is 24. And yes, you can see some difference in angle. It's slightly wider in the new one. For portraits it's little worse, for landscape it's better. But there is a zoom for portraits. Also, the minimum focusing distance on the main model has become larger. This is a minus. I used to be able to shoot video on the main camera with more detail. Now you have to shoot more often, either from distance and with 3x zoom, or using ultra-wide model. At the same time, the quality is very similar as before. If you look closer, there is a difference, but I won't say it's dramatic. The biggest difference is when you're shooting in Pro with 48 megapixel. At the same time, Apple 2x zoom to the main model. It's using a crop, so no interpolation. But I like quality from 3x model more, there is more detail. But when compared with 2x zoom in 13 Pro Max, the detailing of the new smartphone is much better. The telephoto camera is my favorite, and unfortunately Apple didn't change it. They also said that it is became more brighter, but I think it because new photonic engine. The ultra-wide has become better, and it is really cool because many people use this camera as the main. And since the first ultra-wide in iPhone 11 Pro, the model has gone from really crap to really good quality. And here you can shoot both regular ultra-wide photos and even macro with more quality. But the aperture became a little slower. Now it's f2.2 and it was f1.8. But the sensor is much larger and it can collect more light. So the ultra-wide now shoots much better even in the evening, and the macro photos will be even cooler. But as I said at the beginning, the camera is impressive. Just look at these photos. Those are my children. The photo in the room. Look at the nature bokeh, at the quality. And this a photo on the street. The front camera has also become better. It now has autofocus and brighter optics, f1.9, and it was 2.2. But the problem with overlight background remained. The algorithms did not work well here. Video shooting was the strong point of any iPhones, and now it's even better. 8K was not added, but it is not really necessary now, but some new cool features are here. For example, the action mode, which in terms of stabilization is almost the same as in new GoPro 11, but you can shoot only in 2.8K. Compared to the iPhone 13 Pro Max, there is a big difference when running. Cinematic mode is now working in 4K, and it was another thing I was waiting for. But thanks to the more beautiful bokeh, sometimes this mode doesn't need to be turned on. For example, I just filmed a review of the new GoPro 11 on my iPhone 14 Pro Max, and just look at this natural blur. Yes, it's not cinematic, but no artifacts either. But at the same time, when you are filming in the studio, the cinematic mode is really useful option. I already shoot a few reviews on the new iPhone and I'm really happy with the camera. It's cool to know that you have really good studio just in your pocket. That can help you to shoot anything when you need it. Also, I recorded an entire episode of my podcast on the new iPhone 14 Pro Max. The microphone here is also great. Recently, on one commercial shooting, our microphone broke and we recorded an audio interview on an iPhone. And let me remind you that the iPhone is exactly that smartphone where you can write your own music, you can shoot your video, record audio, and then even edit all you have, and you need to use only your smartphone. I added a huge series in LumaFusion directly on the iPhone, and I have one friend in my company who sold his MacBook Air on the Apple M1 chip, and now he uses only iPhone 13 Pro Max for shooting videos and editing. Another new feature of iPhone 14 Pro is always-on display. It works here differently than in Android smartphone. In fact, the display here always remains on, just less bright, but you keep seeing your wallpaper. There are no always-on settings. You can only turn it on or off, but it displays everything the same as the lock screen, and in iOS 16 you can generally customize it. There are a lot of widgets, various fields with informations, and I even made myself a completely black always-on, like on Androids. To do this, you can simply choose a black wallpaper in the standard settings. I made a black background to drain the battery even less. However, Apple added Always On only now, because only in that generation of iPhone the LTPO display has a refresh rate from 1 to 120 Hz. Even in 13 Pro Max the minimum update was 10 Hz, which means that the battery was discharged much faster. The sizes of the displays in the Pro and Pro Max models are the same, 6.1 and 6.7 inches. But the peak brightness is now as much as 2000 nits, and it is noticeable on the street. It's really bright. It's the brightest display on any smartphone for now. The sound from the speakers has become much cooler. It's both louder and cleaner. And it is amazing how they managed to do this, because the speaker became even more smaller than before. But for that time I'm not happy with the battery life. According to other tests on YouTube, this smartphone is even better than 13 Pro Max. But I have never had it live until the evening. Maybe I use it more than before, taking more videos and photos, but I think I did all this before. I remember I had this problem on the iPhone 11 Pro Max when it came out. But then an update came out and battery life became better. I heard about this problem from the other people using iOS 16. And let's talk little about the performance. iPhone 14 Pro and Pro Max works on a new 4nm Apple A16 Bionic. But the main thing for me is that Apple improved the cooling. Previously, when working in the sun or when charging, the smartphone could easily reduce the brightness by 2 times or even more. And when you are piloting a drone or navigating, it could be really comfortable or even dangerous. Now 14 Pro Max holds much better, and even when I was playing in World of Tanks Blitz for 13 minutes and then 20 minutes in Apex Legends, the brightness did not drop by a single %. Previously, with such a test, the brightness would have dropped significantly. Yes, I made dimming of display, but only under heavy stress tests. In the end, I will tell that this is not another smartphone that I just wanted. It's really cool smartphone, but for me it is also a working tool. Yes, I shoot this video on my Sony a7C, but I don't have it with me every second. And if I need a really good camera, I always know that in my pocket I have one. Should you update from 13 Pro Max? Probably no, only if you have the opportunity and you really want it. 13 Pro is still a very cool smartphone and will be relevant for another 3 years for sure. But if you have an iPhone 12 or earlier model, I think you can upgrade, because you will definitely feel a lot of changes, from the display to battery life and cameras. As for me, I'm really happy with this upgrade. Don't forget to subscribe, leave your comments below, and see you next time. Bye!